Two men sit in the same waiting room before the same job interview. Same suit, near enough. Same role, same panel, same odds. One has a churning stomach, a dry mouth, hands that won't quite stay still, and he reads all of it as proof he's about to fall apart. The other has a churning stomach, a dry mouth, hands that won't quite stay still, and he reads it as his body getting up to speed. Same chemistry, same racing heart. Two completely different men walk through that door. Nothing about the facts changed between them. The adrenaline was identical. What differed was the frame, the silent story each man wrapped around the same set of sensations. And that frame, not the facts, is what shaped the next 20 minutes of their lives. That gap, that's where cognitive reframing lives. Not in pretending the interview doesn't matter, not in chanting that everything's fine, in something far more precise and far more honest. So let me tell you what reframing actually is, because most people get the definition half right, and it ruins the tool for them. Cognitive reframing is the deliberate practice of changing the meaning you assign to a situation without changing the facts of the situation itself. Read the second half of that again. Reframing does not touch the facts. You were made redundant. That's a fact, and no amount of clever thinking unfires you. Reframing leaves the fact exactly where it is and goes to work on the only thing that was ever actually flexible: what the fact means. The word comes from photography, from framing, and the metaphor is exact. A picture frame doesn't alter the photograph inside it, but put the same photo in a heavy black mourning frame versus a bright gallery mount, and you change how the viewer reads it entirely. The image is constant. The frame tells you how to feel about it. Now here's the thing most self-help quietly skips over. You do not respond to events. You respond to your appraisal of events. The raw thing that happens reaches you already wrapped in interpretation, so fast, so automatically, that the interpretation feels like part of the event itself. It isn't. It's a layer you added, and what you add, you can change. Let me give you the mechanism, because once you understand the mechanism, the tools stop sounding like platitudes. Between a thing happening and you feeling something about it, there's a step. Psychologists call it appraisal, the brain's near-instant judgment of what this means for me. Is this a threat or a challenge? A loss or an inconvenience? An ending or a redirection? That appraisal happens largely beneath your awareness, in fractions of a second, and it's the appraisal, not the raw event, that sets off the emotional and physical cascade that follows. This is why two people can sit in the very same redundancy meeting, and one is gutted while the other is quietly relieved. The event is shared. The appraisal isn't, and appraisal is downstream of attention. Whatever you point the spotlight of your attention at becomes the raw material the appraisal works with. Fix your attention on everything you've lost, and the appraisal writes the word catastrophe. Widen it to include what's now possible, and the appraisal has more to work with. So reframing mechanically is the deliberate steering of attention and appraisal. You choose what to look at, and you challenge the first meaning that arrives. None of this is magic. Real change isn't magic, it's mechanism, and none of it asks you to believe anything false. It's just the simple fact that the brain hands you a first draft of meaning automatically, and you have been given the pen to edit it. Now, I need to draw a hard line here, because this is where reframing gets confused with something hollow. Toxic positivity denies the fact. It papers over a genuine loss with a slogan: everything happens for a reason, just stay positive, good vibes only, and in doing so, It asks you to abandon your own reality. It doesn't make you feel better. It adds a layer of guilt on top of the pain. Because now you're suffering and failing to be grateful about it. Your nervous system isn't fooled. You can feel the lie. Honest reframing keeps the fact and the feeling fully intact. It doesn't say the redundancy was secretly wonderful. It says, this happened, it hurts. And also, here is a truer, wider, more useful way to hold it. The pain is allowed. The frame just stops the pain from calcifying into a story that isn't true. And the test is simple. If a reframe requires you to lie to yourself, it's positivity. And it'll collapse under pressure. If it's something you can actually believe, a fact you'd been ignoring, a meaning that's equally real but more useful, it's a reframe. And it'll hold. Theory's cheap. Let me give you a few worked examples from the rooms where this actually matters. Redundancy. The fact, you've been let go after 11 years. The default frame, I'm a failure. I've been discarded. My security is gone. The reframe, I've been freed from a role I'd quietly outgrown 2 years ago with a payout and a clean reason to find something that fits the person I am now. Notice, the redundancy is still real. The fear is still allowed. But discarded and freed are both honest readings of the same fact, and only one of them leaves you able to act. Harsh criticism. A colleague tore your proposal apart in front of the whole team. The default frame, they think I'm incompetent, I've been humiliated. The reframe, someone just gave me, for free, the exact objections my proposal will face from every client who matters. Before it cost me anything real, it still stung. You're allowed to dislike how it was delivered, but the reframe turns an attack into data. Anxiety before something big, racing heart, tight chest, restless hands before a presentation. The default, I'm panicking, something's wrong with me, I'm going to fall apart. The reframe, this is my body mobilizing, the same arousal it would summon for anything that matters. This is readiness, wearing the costume of fear. And this one isn't a lie. The physiology of anxiety and the physiology of excitement are nearly identical. Same adrenaline, same quickened breath. The label is the variable. A mistake you made. You sent the email to the wrong client and it cost the firm a contract. The default, I'm careless, I always do this, I can't be trusted. The reframe, I made a specific error in a specific moment that I now know exactly how to prevent. This one separates the behavior, a thing you did, from the identity, a thing you are. And that's the whole game. I failed, you can fix. I'm a failure, you cannot. And a setback in a long project. 6 months in, the whole approach has to be scrapped. The default, I've wasted half a year, I'm back to nothing. The reframe, I've spent 6 months buying the single most valuable thing this project needed, the knowledge of what doesn't work. You're not back to nothing. You're back to the start with a map you didn't have before. That's not the same place at all. So how do you train this? Because reframing is a skill, which means it's trainable, which means it needs reps. Here's a drill you can run on a napkin. 4 steps. 1. Name the fact, stripped bare. Write down only what actually happened. No adjectives, no interpretation, no story. Not my boss humiliated me, just my boss said my report needed redoing. Strip it back to what a camera would have recorded. Most of the suffering is hiding in the words you added. 2. Catch the frame you're using. Write the meaning you've wrapped around it. The automatic story. This proves I'm not good enough. This always happens to me. Get it out where you can see it. You can't change a frame you can't spot. 3. Interrogate it. Is this frame definitely, factually true? Is it the only honest reading? What would I tell a friend who said this to me? You're not searching for a pretty lie, you're searching for a truer, wider frame the first draft missed. 4. Choose the frame you'll act from. And this is the bit people skip. Decide to act from it. A frame you don't act on evaporates. A frame you move on becomes real. Go back to those 2 men in the waiting room. Same heart, same suit, same odds. And the only thing that separated them was a frame each had chosen, mostly without knowing he'd chosen anything at all. The facts of your life are often not yours to control. The frame almost always is, and because the brain responds to the frame and not the fact, the frame isn't some consolation prize. It's the actual lever. Real change was never about pretending the bad thing didn't happen. It's about refusing to let the first story you told yourself about it be the last one. If this landed, join the Rebuild newsletter. The link's in the show notes, where I put tools like this in your hands 1 week at a time. This episode was narrated by an AI clone of my own voice, trained on this show.